BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, welcome to Headliners. Now, you're about to hear an interview with the brilliant Shirley Manson from Garbage. Now, in the interview, I say, and she says, blood and sand a lot. Now, the reason that we do that is because an hour before, we did a whole segment of the show on swearing. And someone texted in, a lovely listener to 5 Live, to say that instead of swearing, they use the term blood and sand. And I found it hilarious, and thankfully, Shirley did too. So if you hear us doing blood and sand a lot, that's the context. Enjoy this interview, and also enjoy the album. The new Garbage album is very good indeed, and it's called No Gods, No Masters. So this morning I was listening to the new Garbage album, 7th Garbage album. They've sold over 17 million of them, and blood and sand, I said. Such was my joy. So good, actually. So good. So exciting, actually, to listen to their music again. And one thing that's really interesting about No Gods, No Masters, for a band that have been around for as long as they have, and it's, what is it now, 26 years or something, I think, since the debut, it just still sounds like nothing else that is out there, which is extraordinary. Anyway, Shirley Manson is here. I'm not laughing because it's you, Shirley. I'm just laughing at the idea that people would swear by saying blood and sand.
I love it. I actually laughed so hard when you said that last one that I knocked my cap off and my headphones came off my head because I'm a terrible swearer. So I'm going to try the blood and sand, though. I think it's a great trick.
The rest of the band would look at you like, is this an Edinburgh thing that you've never told us about?
Yeah, I'll probably get locked up into a lunatic asylum, but it's worth trying, I think.
It's so good. One thing that I found out about you, and I'm really intrigued by, because you had said it in an interview, but the interviewer didn't really go further into it, was how important or how it has influenced you or shaped you being a middle child.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, being a middle child is a state of mind for sure. Are you a middle child by any chance?
No, I'm a youngest child, but yesterday we had
spoiled brat.
Yeah, the one allowed to be feral. Yeah, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
do anything you want.
Pretty much how it worked out. So for you, one of 3 sisters, you're the middle one. So tell us about how this has shaped you then.
I don't know. I always feel like I'm never getting the privileges of the older child. I'm never getting the privileges of the younger one. I'm always getting hand-me-downs. By the time the hand-me-downs come through me, the little one gets all the new clothes and so on and so forth. So I just felt sort of like rageful my whole childhood. And I also love being in between people. Like, I'm a good sandwich. I think that's why I'm a really good member of a band, because it's where I feel comfortable when I'm flanked.
Because I've obviously interviewed so many artists over the years, and there are parallels in kind of upbringings and traumas and different periods that they channel into their music. You had by and large, certainly up to secondary school, a very happy childhood.
I did. I had a blissful childhood.
2 parents, very loving.
Yep.
All good.
All good.
And that changed, didn't it, though? Secondary school, hormones, a bully, and then, wow, lift off.
Yeah, then lift off. I mean, I think probably what happened was the hormones hit and I was a sensitive kid and I just couldn't handle like getting bullied at school. I went kind of nuts and found refuge in music and got in touch with my inner rage and just transported myself out of getting bullied into some kind of fantasy world. It was saved my life, as it turns out, but I hated being bullied. It was horrible.
Yeah. And and interestingly, you found out in the years since, that the person who was your bully, your tormentor, actually had a fairly terrible childhood themselves, a far worse childhood.
Terrible. Yeah. She came from a terrible background, had terrible life, and terrible things happened to her. And I didn't know that, though, so
no,
it's a sad story. Yeah.
But one thing that's really interesting about this album, would you say that this is the kind of second Garbage album whereby you have truly put yourself out there?
I put myself out there in everything I do, always. I just think for one reason or another that people are connecting with this record, probably because of the stuff we're talking about. I think everyone can relate, or most people can relate to some of the frustrations that are on this record. And it's incredibly prescient. And that was just really pretty much by accident. We didn't plan on writing this record. It was just something that came out. And then as the months ticked by, it got more and more appropriate to the times that we were all going through. It's sort of crazy.
How did an acting teacher, though, allow you to connect more with yourself?
Well, it wasn't that she taught me how to connect more with myself. She taught me how to be more willing to take risks,
right.
Creative risks,
right.
And stop getting tied to results. And she just sort of said, you need to be in the moment and not think about what people are expecting, what they're hoping for from you. You just have to be in the work. And it sounds so pretentious, and it is pretentious, but it was really amazing advice she gave me.
What does it mean to you, that phrase, to be in the work?
To like I said, not really pay attention to what people are saying about the band, what people are hoping for from the band. We were so successful for so long. There was a lot of expectations sort of put on our shoulders, particularly mine, because I'm the front person, and it just ended up making us sort of get stuck in our heads. And instead of enjoying making music, which is the biggest privilege in the world, it began to feel unpleasant, and that's not good.
Well, you sound on this album that you're in a very good place creatively.
Yeah, I think we all were. We were, again, it's just a piece of luck. You can't predict it, and you just have to hope when you come together as a band that everyone's bringing their A game, and I think in this case everybody did.
How long did it take you to realize how much you missed it when you didn't have it anymore?
It took a long time. When we took a hiatus, my mother was really, really ill. And I also secured this incredible job for 2 years on a big TV show.
Terminator,
and I loved that. And I had played an amazing role. And so I was distracted for about 4 years. And then it was at the end of the 4th year, I was like, oh my God, I really need to get back into making music. I miss it. I miss the band. I miss the fun. I miss traveling. And so we got the band back together, but we never had actually split up, which I think is a fallacy that people tend to think. No, it's not your fault. It's just, we just all said, let's take a break. And then that break ended up being a lot longer than we ever intended. Yeah,
because it's interesting that one day were you mid-tour when you said to them, I've got to go home. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, our ticket sales were slumping, and the record company were really negative, and they wanted us to do all this kind of do these sort of collaborations with hip hop artists. And I was like, but why? Why would we? What have we in common musically with these artists, aside from the fact that they're amazing? What story are we trying to tell? It just seems so inauthentic. And I just kept feeling like we're going to end up doing something we really regret really soon if we continue to get pressured like this. So I went home.
Well, that's your, to use common parlance, that's your safe space, presumably.
Blood and sand!
Blood and sand, Fenton. So when you are in the middle of that extraordinary maelstrom of fame and you're on the front of all these covers and everyone wants to know your opinion on everything, is it a facade in terms of how powerful you actually are?
Oh, that's a good question. You're good at this. I think it's, when I was younger, I think it was definitely, I was wanting to be the best version, most fearless version of myself as I could be. And so I sort of embodied that version. And then, of course, you do it, practice it enough, all of a sudden it becomes who you are. You know what I mean? Now I'm 54. Right. It's I would say pretty much I'm who I say I am. But when I was younger, I think I was reaching to be brave, to be outspoken, to not worry about what people were saying.
I found it extraordinary that you've said that it really took you into your mid-40s to really believe in yourself, to have faith in yourself as an artist, and to recognize your worth, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really crazy. And we could go into that, and it's so boring. But I'm glad I got there in the end. And I think it's been really great at this point in my career to actually develop a confidence that I never had, because all of a sudden we're making different sounding records, you know?
Amazing sounding records
Thank
that don't
you.
sound like anything else that's out. So do you feel in some way, thankful's not the right word, but proud that as a woman of your age, the music industry, or not the industry, but we are more appreciative of women, whereas in the 90s you wouldn't have seen necessarily? Would you? I don't know, because you've talked a lot about how women aren't allowed to age in music in the way that men are.
I think that remains true, to be honest. And I think
Right.
it takes a certain kind of woman to really stride forward despite the criticisms and the suggestions that you should just go home and be quiet. I mean, I think I tweeted last night.
Imagine someone trying to tell you that.
I got asked yesterday by 2 different journalists from 2 different countries asking me when I was going to retire. I'm like,
What?
I just thought it was a really peculiar question. You know, it's like,
It's a
really?
weird question.
But my heroes are all still out there. The first generation of women basically who are still working in the music industry in their 70s. So it's Chrissy Hynde, you know, Debbie Harry, Patti Smith, and Stevie Nicks.
Amazing.
All these women are like portraying this possibility of the future for me, and I'm going to follow in their footsteps.
And you're portraying it for another generation.
Of course, yeah.
100%.
And that's how it goes. That's how it develops, you know.
See it to be it. See it to be it. So for
Yeah.
this album, how important is place when you're recording an album and you're writing an album?
Ooh, I'm not entirely sure it's that important, but I wouldn't know, because I'm always sort of happy with what we produce. You know, we've never put out a record that we're embarrassed by. We're always proud of our record. But I think place influences what comes out and how it comes out. But I don't know if that matters, if you know what I mean. I think you just have to be in the moment and see what happens, and then make the best of what arrives collectively when it does.
Yesterday we had on the show this amazing poet, Holly McNish, and if you've not read her work, it's just superb. And I asked her a question about what fuels her poetry more, love or anger. What fuels your music?
Well, what do you think? I mean, it's an easy question, isn't it? I mean, frustration and outrage and fury have always been my fuel, my fire. I don't write a lot about love, to be honest. I feel like that's covered. Like, everybody talks about love. Everybody's talking about how they feel and the object of their affections. And it just doesn't really interest me that much, probably because it's just been done so many times. And I don't consider myself a talented enough writer to bring a new perspective to that particular subject. So I like to write about things that nobody else is seemingly interested in writing about, because then everyone won't be able to tell just how untalented I am. But I'm saying that with tongue in cheek, but
well, there's a universality. There's a universality in what you think nobody else is going to be interested in, because you've sold millions of albums.
Yeah,
millions of albums. Yeah. With then anger, do you find that funneling it through music, it dissipates or it exacerbates?
Dissipates.
Right.
Definitely dissipates. I think to get stuff out onto record, literally it's like, you know, a sort of statement for the record. Here it is. This is where I stand on this particular issue or subject. And then there's this relief. It's like, okay, I, at least for historical reasons, I've shown who I am, what I believe in, what I'm in disagreement with. And that's such a privilege.
There's plenty of fuel out there, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Angry
yes,
about.
There is. Yeah.
Does that mean then that you are constantly writing in order to process what's going on?
I mean, I do write a lot, but it takes me a while to sort of pick the ideas to percolate, you know, and really distill down how it is that I want to approach, you know, a subject like, you know, the misogyny or sexism or racism. You know, it takes a while to like really hone how you want to present this, statement.
How much do you love America?
I love America.
Why?
Well, for a lot of reasons. One being it was the first country to really embrace me, and give me an opportunity to be an artist, It was an American manager, a very famous music manager, that called me up and said, do you want to make a record? And he took me over to America, and I made a record with Chris Frantz and Tina Weymouth from the Talking Heads. That was a dream, that they were heroes of mine. And then from that moment on, my career took off, and all the opportunities that I enjoyed were coming from America. And of course, I met my husband there, and my dog is American. I mean, my home is there at the moment. And there's a lot, and geographically it's beautiful. I mean, it's stunning, but it has its problems like everywhere else.
How were the Trump years for you then?
Ghastly. I woke up every morning. I just was in a tizzy, because he felt like a crazy person, to me, a really, really crazy person. And it just scared me. I mean, I can deal with political, dissent, from one side and the other. We all have different ways of looking at stuff, but there was just certain things that were like, this is nuts. This is nuts. I don't want any part of it.
Did you fear for the fabric of America, or did you think that, that term, those 4 years, it would just pass? Because, I mean, after all, I think, 70 million people voted for him in the last election?
Yeah, I do fear for the future of such a vast, country. It scares me a little that they don't invest more in education, because, of course, when you have an uneducated country, that's where people like Trump really clean up,
Yes.
So, yeah, it's very, very concerning for sure.
So what is then the kind of optimism that you feel, the hope that you feel? What gives you that?
Well, he didn't get in, did he?
Well, there's that. That's true. But like I said, tens of millions of Americans voted for him.
Yeah, but there are millions and millions of people in the country, So,
yeah.
I mean, we can make a lot of that number, but it's all, if you put it in perspective, it's just a massive country with a massive population. And yeah, it seems like a vast number, but he was outvoted despite his proclamations to
nonsense.
Just delusional nonsense.
Yeah.
He didn't win that election, and that's what gives me hope. I think there was enough people who are just like, this is out of control. We're not having anything to do with it, And also, there's a very wide representation of peoples in government and in Congress, and I find that exciting. Different colors, different creeds, different genders. That's exciting to me, and it's modern. And so that's what I love about America, I think.
How does it amplify your Scottishness being outside of Scotland?
I don't know if it does, actually. I mean, I am Scottish to the core of my being, but I don't feel the need to constantly sort of be in Scotland or, concern myself about being Scottish. I feel that that's something I carry with me. It's my ancestry, it's my history, it's my dirt, as they say. But for now, I have a task. I'm in a band with people who happen to live in America, and it's common sense and practicalities that keep me there. But I always love to come back. I'm here right now, and it's heavenly. It's just heavenly to be home.
How do you feel about the word rock star? How do you kind of react to that terminology?
A good story about that word or that term, rock star, because obviously I've been called a rock star, and I think a billion other people, pop stars, are called rock stars, and I'm thinking, I don't know about that, mate. Because to me, rock star is about a certain ideology and a certain practice and a certain way of presenting yourself to the world. And if you're a pop star, you're a pop star. I'm sorry, you just don't get to be a rock star. But I also found the term a little gauche until I was at a party once with Karen O from the Yeah. And she said, we're the only rockers left, Manson. And I said, I hate that term rocker. And she said, why do you hate that rocker? Why do you hate that word rocker? And I was like, I don't know. It just sounds kind of cheesy. And she said, it's super cool. And then I was like, I guess it is really cool because there's not many of us left. Not many people are willing to tread that path now. Everyone wants to be really huge and successful. And of course, rock music is a marginalized kind of genre right now. So I love rocker now because of Cara No. She changed my mind about it.
That's superb. Because I think there's very few more rock and roll things than getting a really big management deal, getting a big advance, and then wasting it completely on drink and drugs, and losing that deal. I mean that's fairly rock and roll, isn't it? I can't think of anyone who has done that. Can you think of anyone who's done that before in their past, Shirley?
The thing is, the way I grew up, I came out of post-punk Britain, and we admired rebellion and we admired stuff that wasn't pretty and we admired stuff that wasn't successful. We valued things that were sort of on the outskirts of mainstream culture, and we loved underground and subcultures and so on and so forth. So that's where I grew up. Now it doesn't seem like there's a value really ascribed to that kind of scene. There's so much great music out there. There's so much great poetry that, as you mentioned, literary work and so on and so forth. And they're all under the sort of the underground, and they don't get the same kind of attention as a lot of the big pop stars of today. And they're not, and therefore not valued, but I value them, and my people that I love hanging out with, we value them, and that's still important to us.
So then, how uncomfortable was it when you went from being an independent artist signed to an independent label, although still selling millions of records, and then suddenly, through no choice of your own, became part of Interscope, and then them trying to mould you into being essentially pop stars when you are at heart a rock star?
I cannot believe how much research you've done. I am so bowled away by this. You're asking me things that I just didn't think was going to come my way this morning. But it was awkward. It was awkward, and it was the beginning of the end of the first part of our career in Garbage, because we were suddenly on a massive label that wanted to have massive hits. It's all they were interested in. They didn't care if you were making good work. They didn't care if you were respected or authentic and had integrity. They just wanted to be number one in the charts. And that was not something I personally was interested in. I didn't want to put out shitty work just to be famous and rich.
My apologies if anyone was offended slightly by that.
Oh my
word.
God, is that considered a swear word as well now?
Yeah, so what she said, she didn't want to put out blood and sand.
She
wanted to put blood and sand out.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry, guys.
That's all right. It's all right. I do that job, and it's fine. We're all done.
Is that word a swear word?
Yeah, apparently yes. Not according to my 11-year-old.
So let me ask you this: if you're
go on.
No, if you're walking down the street and you see something that a dog has left behind, what's the word for that?
Poo, isn't it?
Poo. Okay.
Oh my God! What am I, 12?
Oh my Lord! Okay.
Wait a minute. Is that Manson I just saw? She didn't pick up her dog poo. She left her dog. Excuse me, Manson. You can't leave that in Beverly Hills.
I never leave my dog poo. I'm very religious. I pick it up religiously. I actually enjoy picking up the POO.
Yes. Yeah. You see, the thing is, I've interviewed quite a few Bollywood stars, and they don't think that word is a swear word either. So, because I think in kind of Hinglish, like Hindi and English, they just drop that in, and that makes for very, very, very
cross listeners.
Yeah, very well. No one's ever I guarantee you, no one will text in to complain about what you just said.
Now you've thrown down the gauntlet. You're going to get a whole thousands of people complaining.
No, in fact, I've got people. Wow, Shirley Manson, so erudite, open-minded, and very down to earth, and that laugh, very unexpected. Thanks, Nihal. That's Sophie, who just turned 52 in Brighton. So great to hear Shirley Manson today. Unfortunately, I had my own experience of bullying as a schoolgirl, and Garbage's music was so cathartic to listen to at the time. Going to check out the new album for sure. Thank you, Shirley. You should check out the album for sure. And we will check out some more with Blood and Sand Manson.
Blood and Sand!
Please let that be the name of the 8th album. Speak to the boys. Speak to the boys. If that is, that would be amazing. Shirley Manson is here. There's a new album, No Gods, No Masters. This is the title track from the album. Boom. No Gods, No Masters. From the album of the same name, 7th album by Garbage. 7th studio album, I have to be very specific on that. Shirley, it's interesting that you did once have a God and Jesus Christ in your life, but at the age of 12, I mean, I think that's an extraordinarily self-aware decision to make for a 12-year-old. To kind of go, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I got so cross, but my dad, was very religious and took us to church religiously from, when we were young. And then I just started noticing people in the church being really hypocritical, and it turned me off. And I don't know, I would argue with my dad over the dinner table about, the Bible and what it all meant. And it was intense. I still have a sort of form of faith, but just not in any organized way. I think organized religion has just got a lot to answer for. It hurts people, and it's not right.
So then what is your faith? What does it look like? When does it appear to you?
Well, in trying to do right, try to treat people right, I think is important. I don't know what created us. I have no answers, but I don't know. I just don't know. And I don't have strong enough faith to believe in the sort of idea of God as it's presented to us, if that makes any sense. Like it just seems a bit silly to me. I just can't get behind some of it. I want to do right. I don't want to break the 10 Commandments, basically. Yeah. And I feel like the tenets of all organized faith seem to be rooted in just common sense. So I'm with the common sense. I'm just not with all the judging and the punishing. I'm just not into that at all.
No, not at all. Yeah. So then what about in the kind of very surreal world of being a music artist, especially a multi-million selling, because let's face it, the vast majority of artists never, ever achieve those heights. And you certainly have. How do you stay rooted? Or did you?
I did. I really did. I just didn't let myself get carried away. I didn't, I'm not big on material possessions, really. I'm not really big on status symbols. I didn't buy a fancy car. I didn't buy a fancy house. I'm not into people showing off, which is ironic because I'm a huge show off, but I don't know. I don't know how I managed it, but I did it for all my faults, and I have many. I did not lose my mind. I stayed pretty much the same person that I am now, and I was when I was growing up in Edinburgh.
What would you then think of made you so kind of resilient? Because you've seen a lot, you've experienced a lot. Where does the resilience come from?
My mum, I think, and my dad. Actually, my dad is a tough old bird, I saw him last night for the first time in a long time, and he's 84 and he's incredibly spry. He had a really bad accident earlier on this year and he's bounced back from it. And I'm just looking at this 84-year-old man who's got more life in him than most 30-year-olds I know. He's got more courage, more get up and go. And my mum too was an orphan, and she grew up in institutions, until she was about 5. And she was tough and disciplined and powerful.
Well, you certainly seem to be all of those things, which again, I guess, but that goes kind of at odds with what you were saying about your own self-belief. Because there's a resilience that the outside world sees, but then there's a fragility that I guess you're hiding from the world.
Yeah, although I guess what my mum always taught me was you can feel all these things, but you act
right
irregardless.
Right.
You can think this, but do other. You may feel scared, do it anyway, was kind of my mum's philosophy,
Because you seem pretty fearless.
I'm pretty feeless. I'm very scared of spiders, though, I have to confess.
So am I.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
So is Nicola Adams, the boxer.
Is that true?
She's terrified of spiders. Absolutely.
I love it. I feel I'm in good company.
Yeah, you're very good. Although, wait a minute, whereabouts? Are you in LA?
I'm in Edinburgh right now, but I live in LA for the most part.
Oh, what was it like? Is this the first time you've seen your dad since lockdown?
It's my first time since I saw my sister and that side of the family. I've seen my dad once at Christmas. I managed to get back and quarantine for, I think it was 14 days, and then I got to see him. But yeah, it's been hard.
How was that seeing your sister then?
It was intense, really weird.
Elder or younger?
My youngest sister, and she's got 2 young kids who are basically 2 years older than the last time I saw them, which was devastating to me. That was the most devastating thing out of all of COVID for me, was I missed out basically on almost 2 years of my niece and nephew's life.
Auntie Shirley.
Auntie Shirley.
Auntie Shirley. So
best role of my life.
Okay, so Auntie Shirley, is Auntie Shirley kind of, yeah, I'll do what my sister asked me to do, or is Auntie Shirley sneaking sweets? What kind of auntie are you?
I'm quite strict, quite a strict auntie. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But they call me Auntie Shirley, and I know they love me, and they don't seem to mind when I get cross with them. So it works out good.
And I don't know their ages, but are they aware of what you do?
They're starting to become more aware of it now. But we haven't hidden it from them. We've just never really talked about my career much in front of the kids. But they've come to shows. They're always really proud. You know, they get excited. They wear the T-shirt. It's very cute. Yeah, but they're not in awe of my career, which I think is really healthy. Like, they're not in awe of celebrity or being a musician or any of that. They're just like, yeah, you do that. That's cool. Whatever.
So what's the touring schedule going to be?
Well, our touring schedule's kind of nuts because we actually go out in a few weeks with Alanis Morissette in North America. And it's a big tour, but luckily it's all outside. Yeah, it's all outside. So we're really blessed.
But is that full venues or a kind of third full or a half full because of COVID restrictions? What is that going to look like?
They're big
rooms, right?
Know. Yeah, they're big sort of outdoor arenas. I don't know. It's not our tour, so we don't have to worry ourselves about the actual practicalities of it. It's like the easiest gig of my life. We get to go out there, and Liz Phair is also joining us, and it's a huge summer tour in America. And then we come to the UK with Blondie, and, you know, I mean, that's how we close out the year with our heroes.
Amazing. So are you already preparing, like, mentally for being back on the road?
Well, I got an email last night from Butch, who's starting to like program his drum kit, and he's like, I need the set lists. So we've started talking about the songs we're going to be doing, and he's starting to, because he uses electronic drums, so he has to program all the songs individually, and it's a bit of a drag. So yeah, we're starting work.
Right. And are you excited for it? How will it be different for you this time with this album, do you think, on the road?
Well, I mean, I have a lot of energy, as I'm sure you can imagine. And I have
blood
been
and
like
sand, I do, yeah.
Blood and sand. I've been a racehorse cooped up, you know, ready to race for a year and a half. So I think I'll be very excited. I think we're a wee bit nervous about it. You know, it's all unknown to go out in this pandemic. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is weird. Do you think they're going to be face masks on the audience and all of that?
I do know that I think they take people's temperatures as they come in, right. And but I don't know what Live Nation who running the show. I don't know what they expect of their guests. I'm not trying to concern myself with all that.
Well, look, it's great to have you back. Garbage is great, and that you're in Scotland as well. It's fantastic. Yes. How long are you here for then? When do you leave?
I leave at the end of the month, but I get to be here for the release tomorrow, which seems really fitting and exciting. And I'm a lucky bugger. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, look, we're lucky that you've brought back the sounds. The band are back together. Not that you ever split up, to be very clear. And, we're going to be very clear about that. And it's good to see you, and we can't wait to see you back on the road again. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Take care. And for making me really laugh. Cheers. Thank you. And make sure that new swear word of yours, right? I want to hear that used. You'll get it. You'll get it one of these days. Brilliant. Cheers, Nihal. Cheers. Really appreciate it. Take care. Shirley Manson there from Garbage with No Gods, No Masters. And Christopher Barker has tweeted me going, love how you got through a whole hour on swearing without anyone dropping one in, and then bang, interview with a rock star, and she casually dropped one in. Oh, how I laughed. Yes, the irony of that did not pass any of us by. Oh, God, you've got to love Shirley Manson. How cool. Thanks for listening. Remember to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Headliners. And while you're there, why not check this?
Must watch from BBC Radio 5 Live.
It does feel quite unhinged.
The gag count is so high and it rewards a binge viewing.
It's like they forgot how to make a TV show.
I would happily watch a show just about those guys.
Just the sheer experimentation and creativity is something that I just really admire.
I feel like we should do a whole hour just about whether you should let your dog lick your mouth.
I hated this documentary.
Oh! Richard Armitage and Hannah John Kamen, welcome to Must Watch.
Hi. Was that what I was doing as acting?
Joey Essex.
What's happening, bro?
The record of people meeting in reality TV shows and staying together, you'll probably be aware, is not a great one.
Yeah, well, she's sitting right outside.
My agent phoned and said, look, they want to attach you to this project. And I said, well, what's it about? She said, it's a policeman that gets killed. Oh, here we go. Here we go again.
Hello, Rhiannon.
Hello, happy Love Island Day.
And has Craig David ever been mistaken for you before?
The first time I saw him on TV, I thought, what am I doing on TV? Like, that's how much he looked like me.
Sue in Brighton.
Is she saying Friends?
Yes, she's saying Friends. Is it a must-watch?
For a special category of you have to watch it because you want to lose your mind, I'm going to say yes.
That's Must Watch, the only TV review podcast you'll ever need. Available right now from BBC Sounds.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Peter Crouch.
Laughs.
Gary Lineker.
Legends.
Sum up their podcasts in a single word.
Mates. Debates. Mischief. Brains. Nonsense. Knowledge. Pancakes.
That Peter Crouch Euros podcast and the Match of the Day Top 10 podcast.
Football.
2 podcasts, 1 tournament. Listen only on BBC Sounds.